on location and driven by Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. It's Billified, the Bill Moran Podcast.
Well, hello and welcome from the love capital of Rhinebeck, New York. I'm in my mom's home. You can see all the things behind me, and there she is, Ma Marge. Last night we were people watching at the Beekman Arms, the oldest inn in America, and it's so much fun to go there. It's like this old. It's almost like a speakeasy in the back. I mean, it's not. It's, you know what I mean? It's quiet. It's nice. It's like you're tucked away. No one knows where you are. It's awesome. And Mom Marge was disciplined and had one drink, and I did not. I had two. I have to just say this, and I don't know where I got this from, and maybe you have a better insight, but I love to drink.
Oh,
I mean, I
know where it came from.
I just love it. I love the people. I love the events around it. I like the games. I like the socialization. Nothing makes me happier than when you go out for brunch and they say mimosas. Yeah, all right, we'll have mimosas. Oh, it's bottomless mimosas today, and you practically get so excited. It's so much fun. But my mother said as she sat down, I don't know what we're going to talk about. And
here.
Yeah, here. And I said, I don't like to tell you because I don't want you to overthink things because you have a tendency to do that. But what I would say is this will be fun. This will be very interesting and insightful. And I think, no, I did. Why are you nervous?
I'm not.
Yes, you are. My mom, who rebuilt her house after it burned down, rebuilt her life after 35 years of marriage, raised 3 kids, ran a department, and is still teaching at 79 years old.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to be teaching a class for adult learners at Bard College, which I think is still one of the most expensive universities in the United States. And for people who haven't heard about it, if you watch the Chevy Chase, and it's Chevy, you idiot, as I interviewed him once, and I burst out laughing. I think I just get that guy. Like, I really do, because everybody said to me afterwards, that interview would have tanked had you not. And I go, yeah, he wasn't. That's funny. That's a funny thing that he said. And but it's in there. He went to Bard. I don't know that he finished.
I don't think
I think he dropped out, but it's in there. So, but you were going to be teaching a class for adult learners on listening, which I think is maybe one of the most important skills you can have. And if you could develop it at 25, it would be such a nice thing. But for you, what is the difference between hearing and truly listening? And pull that microphone a little bit closer to you.
Okay.
You don't have to, if you just, yeah. There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hearing's more physical and mechanical.
Yeah.
Listening gets more into emotional
Right.
and intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're really listening, you're empathizing with the listener, with the speaker.
Yeah. So listening is a validation.
Yes.
When you think about it. And I even wonder if that helps people with like their nervous system regulation of things. I mean, when you think about a child who isn't listened to, what do?
They
get loud. Then they get your attention one way or another. Right. And I think that's the...
so do adults.
Well, sure. And I mean, there is something about when we feel truly heard. I even think that like when you're not really listening in a marriage, and you're hearing but not listening. And I think like most guys hear and then they try to fix instead of listen. Right?
Yes.
And I really do. And I think that listening, I mean, this is where arguments dissolve sometime into name calling, which is always the intellectual eject button on anything. And it's hard to recover from that. I think that it leads to like our political division. No one's really listening to anybody anymore. There's a lot of shouting on social media and things that we hear. I don't know. I would say listening is regulation.
Yeah. And then that's a big thing when people are trying to fix it and somebody else is just trying to say. Sometimes they just need a place to talk. They need somebody to listen to them. And, I've spent my life in teaching communication skills.
Right.
Most of it was on the other end, helping people speak and speak
right.
correctly and all. But to do that, I also taught listening, and I used to, with the kids, talk about whole body listening. So you need to attend with your eyes. You need to be looking at the person.
Right.
You need to be tuned in. So you need to be centered, calmed down, focused. So all of that comes into play.
All that does come into play. Let me ask you about like the neurodivergent, for example, which is the term we'll say about kids on with autism spectrum disorder or anything. Because I spend a lot of time with a young man who has some issues. I won't go into what they are, but often is like doing something else while the teacher's teaching, but will look at me and answer the question that is asked to the class. I just wonder, for some, it's that way. I would think like there are physical signs that you're tuned in and listening. And I think as an adult, you need to learn those or give the respect, especially in relationships and things. And I don't even mean romantic relationships.
All relationships.
Yeah.
No, it's really important.
Yeah, because I think if you don't feel heard at some times, you don't feel safe. Mm-hmm. Would that be, you know what I mean? You almost feel, especially in a relationship. And I do think, like, what was that silly book that came out years ago? And then there's some truth to it. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and it became a joke. It became something. Some people took it very seriously, but there was some value, I think, in there, and especially from the male side of, well, I have to fix something. Yeah. And the more emotional side is like exactly what you said, which is what therapy would be. Person-centered therapy would be listening and not trying to fix, letting you find the solution yourself.
And a lot of times, like in relationships and with men especially, they are hearing.
Yeah.
And so it looks to the speaker that they're not listening, but they've heard, if you question them on it. So, but then, it's making the speaker comfortable too is another responsibility of the listener.
Well, feeling heard,
yes.
Right? So the listener needs to almost validate that. Like instead of, I got you, I hear you. Or what was my favorite? Your parents, Ag and Ed. I used to love, I got it, Agnes, I got it. Whatever you say, Agnes, whatever you say, I got it. Yeah. That would be what he would say. Do you think Ag ever felt heard? That was my favorite. That and the other thing I just thought about, I always think of this every once in a while, and I get such a smile on my face. And then I want to hit one other thing on them too. So my grandparents lived in, I don't even know, what would you call it, kind of house? A ranch?
Oh, yeah.
Just a ranch?
It was just a straight ranch.
Straight ranch. So they had one bathroom. And the place was immaculate. It was
an incredible housekeeper. Yeah.
Spotless. It was like the show house of the neighborhood. You could never walk in there and it wasn't spotless. And he would stand at the other end when we would all sleep over or something. He would stand at the other end and yell from his bedroom, Agnes, the bathroom empty? And she would yell back, yeah, Eddie, it's fine. And he'd go, are you sure? Yeah. And then he would run. He would run in his boxer shorts. So once I learned what was happening, I would just stand by the door because I needed to see this blur of a big old man running down the hall at top speed for him. And it is underwear. I remember his boxer short. He had no shirt on. He just had his boxer short. He had a towel, I think, and something else in his hand. And then but the boxer shorts always had a pattern. They were like big brown spots on there or something. They weren't made by him. They were on there. But it was that. But then when you think about fixing, and people talk about in relationships love language, and I almost feel like his love language was to do for you.
Oh, definitely.
To do for you. Yeah. So he had colon rectal cancer that eventually took him out. But
thinking when you talk about the old man running down the hall, he wasn't much older than you are now, probably.
Yeah.
He died at
69. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, 55. Well, I was 5 when he was, I'm 54. I was probably like 4. I don't know how old he was when I was born. I know Ag was 50.
Yeah, he was like 50 also, 51.
51, yeah. So Yeah, that could have been the time. I'm thinking of this more.
Older,
I was
but
about 10, so
yeah.
he was probably 60 when he would do this.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Not much older than me.
No. A lot younger than me now.
Yeah. So but then when he was dying, that day he was sick and he was in bed, and then Grandma could never sleep, or I don't know what she would do. She'd be up and she'd be lurking around like a cat somewhere, and she comes in to check on us. And they had a wicker wreath on the bedroom door of the middle room. And she trips over a bag as she leaves the room. She then kind of crashes into the door, and she falls with her hand up, and the wreath falls down her arm up to her shoulder. It was like a ring toss. And it's this loud thing, and she lets out one of her and you hear from the bedroom, Agnes, are you all right? I'm fine, Eddie. I'm fine. Agnes, what do you need me to do? Stay where you are, Eddie. And this was the whole thing. It was the funniest fucking thing. I remember just laughing. I couldn't believe it. Once you knew she was fine, you weren't going to do anything. But anyway, they're fun things for me to think about every once in a while. The house that we were raised in, that Dad had built, primarily built, most of it, it burned down. And what was the first thought when you saw the house? Like after you come back and it was just ashes in the foundation in the basement.
Oh yeah.
Because we had all come down.
Yeah.
And what did you? I mean, what was that first thought when you saw that?
You mean when it was happening? Or?
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking in the aftermath, but even when it was happening. Because you were trying to get the car out, and Dad's screaming, get out, get out, get out, and you're going to go get the car, back it out, and then...
Well, yeah, Dad was downstairs and had said, you have to get out right away and call 911. There really weren't cell phones that big in that day, so I somehow had the house phone, and I'm calling 911, and then I had just come in from yoga, and I was in the crappiest clothes possible, and I decided, well, we both need jackets. Well, I pulled out old. Yeah,
what time of year was this? I don't remember.
February.
Okay, yeah.
And it was very cold out. There was snow all over the ground. And so then I'm like not seeing the flames, right? And they're under me. So I'm thinking, I had a new job, and all the testing for the kindergartners in the Wapaja School District was in the back of my car.
Okay.
We did this quarterly test. A lot of it listening skills and all. So I thought, I'll go through the garage. So as I'm going through the dining room, which we entered the garage through, the lights went out. The flames were raging under me, but I didn't know it. And so I went to put up the garage door and only went up a little bit because the electricity went out. So I'm going down, coats in my hand and all, and I go down the stairs because you went down into the garage.
Right.
Remember? And I thought, do I take the car and just drive it?
I would have.
Ram it through?
Yeah.
Well, Dad was standing there, so... So it was a good thing I did. I crawled under, and he goes, oh, my God, where were you? And he said, we have to run down this driveway. And he said, the windows are going to blow. And we weren't to the bottom of the driveway that the windows started blowing out the house. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
Yeah. So...
you come real close to your own mortality in that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
When I think about standing over that dining room, when I think of what that would have felt like. If that floor collapsed. You know?
Yeah.
And everything did collapse and went right into the basement.
Right. Yeah.
And it was minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe less. I don't know. But anyway, I got out, and the car burned, and the school district, we were fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing. That taught you, and that was the thing. I think I was even the bottom of that driveway, and I realized everything else is replaceable.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
I remember really being hit by that here we were standing there. We had good jobs. We had insurance. Somehow this would be taken care of. And then we were a mess together. And I really thought that we could now work together and pull this back together, our own relationship.
Right.
Because everything was taken away.
Right.
I mean, there was nothing.
No, because I was going to ask you, what does it teach you about attachments? And I think you just said it. Everything is replaceable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things like pictures and stuff.
The pictures and the videos, those were the things of you guys growing up.
Yeah, those are the things I think would be hard.
I had antique things that my mother had given me of her mother's, and that stuff was gone. There was a beautiful butter dish, and it's all gone. And I remember saying to her, "No, hold it for a while," and well, she did. Because, but yeah, you realize that. And I remember when the psychologist in school, he meant well, but he kept following me around. He thought I should be a wreck. He thought I should be a mess. He thought, and I was really okay because, we just started putting it back together again. And none of you guys were there.
We're all adults. I had, I mean, I'm not sure where the,
some of it.
I had kids.
Yes.
Jackson and Jordan were around. So.
And you all came down.
And,
we got settled into a condo, and we got preoccupied with building that house. And and then you grow all these attachments again.
I mean, that's what I was going to ask too, because the home you rebuilt, like the boys loved it. It was a beautiful,
I loved it.
Really gorgeous home. And but was that rebuilding about structure, or even more about identity of having a place that is yours, where you're in this condo and you don't own it, and there is something about that I think is
the I think I was pretty pushy and instrumental in the rebuilding of this house in a lot of ways, but Dad worked and designed it with the architect and all. Wanted something that the grandchildren, that there would be space and they could all come home to, and just something that was really comfortable. Everything had a place, and that place did.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. It was lovely. Yeah. It was really, 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 really nice. And I think sometimes there are things that happen in life that, your house burns down. You get to see kind of what actually matters. I mean, you sort of hit on that. And then we go back to more the human side of things, and we're going to rebuild, and we need this and we need that. And it's a wonderful distraction. And then it's shopping for the new furniture. Yes. And it's like it's all there. And it's almost like, you paid your insurance for nearly 40 years or whatever it was. And so now, there's a lot there, and you never had many claims. So this is, you can rebuild. Yeah. You mentioned the house burning as a way for the marriage maybe to come back together a little bit, right?
Yes.
And I remember thinking, oh, this is great. There's nothing left. They can go get apart. And I know that sounds terrible. I really did.
My closest friends thought, wonderful.
Yeah.
They'll each take their share of the insurance, and then this is a way out.
Yeah.
And then one friend said, oh, no, I know her. She will say, we can put this back together. That this is reason. And I actually kept thinking of Paul in the Bible being thrown off and blinded and thrown off the source where he was Saul. And then just, realizing. So I just thought we could.
This would be our thing.
Yeah.
How many years were you married? 38? Was it? I remember we had the 35th.
Yeah. So it was about 38 when we did separate. Yeah.
Was leaving harder than staying?
Staying was probably all the years in between, and I'm only talking for myself, I'm sure. Was hard, but I was scared.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I was strong enough to do it, and I certainly,
So what?
But when the final breaking point came, it was easier. It was better at that point to be alone than what was going on.
I'm thinking about, like, a lot of times I think there are. Maybe it's men, because I'm a guy, and but men feel stuck in a certain relationship and don't know. I think this is a very relatable thing here. But you're 60 plus at that point. What did you learn about yourself in that situation?
That I could have done this, and I could have done it all along.
Yeah.
And you say guys feel stuck, women feel stuck.
Oh, sure.
Because a lot of women. Well, I was raised with the idea that the man's the head of the family, the man takes care of everything.
Right.
Which I never complied to. I remember my dad saying to me, so you're working for a little while now? I think it was after you were born, Billy, or maybe Katie. I had gone back, and he said, to help Bill out. I was like, wait a minute. I have a career here. And I said, no, Dad, I have a career. I trained to do this stuff. I love doing it. And I'm working for that, too. You know, so a lot of women feel stuck, and a lot of women are. And they couldn't support themselves. And they, so they're very stuck in situations they can't get out of.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is what we think. You know, we limit ourselves with our thinking.
Well, what advice would you give to somebody that maybe even, as you said, afraid to leave?
I think you have to think the whole situation over.
Sure.
You know, carefully what your situation is. See what your resources are. You know, do you have a decent job? Are you bringing in money? Right. If you have children, are you going to be able to manage this on your own? Or can you come up with a peaceful resolution between the two of you? And I think then you have to also look at yourself. Yeah. Because if you're not happy, and if this is making you think less of yourself, and you don't love yourself, right, then you can't reach out to anybody else with the love that you need to be given. So it diminishes you as a person.
Yeah, I think that's a very important thing. And I remember a doctor saying to me, one of the kids' pediatricians saying, if you're not good, you're going to be good for no one. You need to, you know, when I think for years, and I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, but self-care was seen as selfish.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're going to go. But all it is a little time to reset. And I think it's very important for everybody, especially if you're a parent, if you're, you know, by anything in life. But really, that to me would be the thing. So, I mean, the fear of starting over and all, but you did, and I'm not saying this for any reason other than I am somewhat curious about the what maybe surprised you, because you did start dating. What surprised you about dating later in life? Because you're 60-something years old, and it was, I thought it was, I mean, I had no problem with that at all. I thought it was great.
It was kind of fun. It was kind of neat to see that you still could attract people. You know?
Sure.
And there were a lot of good times, you know.
Yeah.
I had a lot of good times. And each person brings something different. But now I think you look at it and you realize, you know, I'm not giving up what I have.
Right.
A lot of my independence, a lot of freedom. So getting married again is fine for some people, but I think you have to look at the whole picture. So, and then you see, there's an independence there. So you're not involved with that other person. So even sometimes when they make remarks and things were with your husband, and I know I was like this, oh, stop, you know, don't, hey, you're not part of me.
Yeah, that's it. That's funny. Yeah, that is very funny. Wow, I kind of like that. I saw an Instagram reel that I thought was maybe spot on, and it's from a woman's point of view. And she's like a single mom. She goes, you know, I just want a part-time boyfriend that will be there when I want him to be and will do what I want to do. And he'll see nobody else, but he'll be available whenever I want. But he can't see, you know, I want him to myself, but I just want him when I want him. And I thought, I could totally see why that ideal would be nice. Yeah. Right? Because you just don't want the bullshit of stuff. And I think I say often as a joke, you know, when we talk about unconditional love and things, you leave your socks on the floor, you know, those little tiny annoyances. Oh, yeah. You know, sharing a bathroom with a man is probably way grosser than sharing it with a woman, or vice versa. I don't know. So you walk in, there's hair in the sink, there's this, there's that, or there's hair in the drain. I don't know. I would say, you know, everything you've kind of talked about here, reinvention's not a young person's game. It's just not, or only a young person's game. I think a lot of time we think, well, you can reinvent yourself. No, I think you should always be trying to better yourself or do something. I'm not sure about reinvent, but you know, even the starting over thing, I think all that's overwhelming and scary.
It is, but I think, as I said, we limit ourselves. We let ourselves be scared, you know. Yeah. And I think they are, again, more self-love, more realism in your abilities, more confidence in yourself. You
are a master level Reiki as well.
I am.
And What is Reiki like in I guess in simple terms? We'll call it layman terms, so to speak.
It's working on the body, the chakras of the body, to let energy flow. And everything is made of energy.
Yeah.
And people are realizing that more and more and more. Science is validating that all over the place. So it helps people. It doesn't do anything. Reiki is not to cure you. You know, it's not, you have an illness, you come and have Reiki. No. Reiki is just to let your body, and we have magnificent bodies that can heal themselves in many, many ways. So Reiki is to let your body relax, let those chakras open, let the energy flow, and let you be better able to heal yourself, your body to be more in balance.
I was going to ask, like, is energy just attention to yourself? Like, but it's, I don't think it is. I think that it's something that you need to sort of focus on and realize is there.
Yeah.
And that in those calming moments, you know, well, a lot of healing happens during sleep, right? And I think that we have poor sleep hygiene for the most part. You know, people are scrolling on their phones. It's right next to the bed. It's all this stuff. I don't know. I'll ask you this, because we talk about, you know, listening and stuff like that, and how important presence is. Is presence healing?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think being in the moment. You know, we're always looking at the past or worried about what's going to happen in the future.
Right.
But the moments we have.
Right.
Like, I'm just thinking, this has been such a nice weekend. It was a short weekend with you. But the moments, being in the present for those moments was a present. It was, and we have those all the time.
Right.
You know, like waking up in the morning and looking out at the sunshine, but being present to see that. Not waking up, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that.
Right.
But taking those moments. So that's where I think meditation really helps.
Yeah.
Just gratitude, practicing gratitude. And it's easy. It's simple.
It is very easy and simple. And I think a lot of times it's what was it like? You know, something goes wrong, everything goes wrong, and you know, here we go again. And let's say, right, we get into these patterns of thought, and so sometimes I believe it's just going to keep happening. But we did a Bill Lightman episode that I'm not going to drop for a while on the other podcast, but in there, you know, talking about setting intention and setting your intention for the day. So you get up, and I think often if you just took a few minutes, and I know it for many people it's going to sound like, hey, what the fuck is this bullshit? But think about it. You know, you wake up in a bad mood, and then you stub your toe, and then the next thing you know, you're driving and you get in a car accident. And it's almost like one thing after the other. Well, I knew this was going to happen. And if you got up and you thought, oh man, this is going to be a great day, or whatever you're thinking, and I'm excited to have this meeting, and I'm really looking forward to this and that, it just goes better. It just does. And
it does.
And that's the thing. What are you still learning?
Yeah, I don't think you ever stop learning. I'm learning that, and we fall back all the time. So yesterday morning I woke up, I wasn't feeling that great, and I was anticipating trying to get everybody together for that podcast, because it's a group I'm with and all, and everybody was doing it from their homes. I was worried about all that. And then I didn't like the way my hair looked, and I was just, you know, and then I thought, so then the day progressed, and once that podcast was over, I felt so relieved, and it went well. And then we had such a nice afternoon, taking a walk, and then, you know, stopping at the Beekman Arms, which we absolutely enjoy so much, and then nice dinner, and you were working, and it just, you know, so when I got up this morning, I changed my intention completely, because in fact I'm going to this party, and I love who it's for this afternoon, and then she tells me she sits me at a table where I don't know anybody because I'll handle it basically. Oh my God. And then this morning I went, you know what? Look at it this way. That's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? You're going to wash your hair and blow it out, and it's going to come out, and you're going to really like it today. And so I set that intention, and what a difference. So you do learn. And you know, I think we're human. So you're going to have to keep going back and doing those things.
Well, you're in a human experience.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we would look at all these things like, if I do this, it'll fix everything, or these woo-woo things, or you're in a human body having a human experience, and you can, you know, kind of go the other way, and life's never going to stop coming at you, but you don't have to look at it as, because that even sounds disastrous. Life's never going to stop coming at you. You know what I mean? It's like a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Right. Well, what do older people get wrong about aging?
I think probably worrying too much about where they're going to wind up and what's going to happen. And again, if we could stay in the moment, you have to set things. I mean, I'm now in a condominium that I own and I love. Right. And it's a better place to be than, so you have to do all those things and get them in place. But then I think you always have to keep having fun. Being involved and, you know, having a lot of volunteering is a wonderful thing, because you just get so much more out of volunteering, and there's so many places and so many people that can use help. And I think just being aware of the people around you, but I think that's the thing, isolation, when people stop leaving their homes, you know, they're worried about things, and so that's I think the biggest thing, probably the worrying and stopping being engaged. I think lifetime learning is important. I think keeping up any kind of activities, knitting groups, sewing groups, dancing, you know, being social.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important. And like, you know, you could even see it in you and Dad, the difference that was there for a certain thing. What do you think? So younger people, like we look at getting older, but what do we misunderstand about getting older? Maybe.
I think, and I haven't experienced this too much, but I think some other people said that all of a sudden, the younger, well, this would be their own children, right?
Yeah.
Are telling them now what to do.
Oh.
You know,
yeah.
And treating them like they're less than. So I think one of the things for younger people to understand is you need to assess, you need to see where your parents are at.
Sure.
And then, but then the other thing is, but let them be who they are, you know, and let them continue. The other thing is just in general with older people, I think you need to realize all the wisdom that older people can bring. Yeah. And I think talk to them more, you know, and if you have some kind of a group, ask them to come join that group. Even play groups. We have a play group that's here, and they're looking for like grandmothers to come read to the little kids, which is a great thing, you know. But there's a lot of wisdom that can be shared.
That's very interesting, because as you were saying that, I go, you know, there's wisdom versus information, right? And sometimes we can all absorb information, but then how do you apply it? And that's where wisdom is. How do I fit this into my life or whatever it is? Well, is there anything that you wish you understood better, let's say at 40? Yeah, I know. Yeah. Or we could say your younger self to now, you know.
Yes. I would really have liked to said, you know, things are going to be okay. They're going to work out fine. You need to relax and you need to really be who you are, and you need to love yourself more.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
So that you can
be better for and be better for everybody around you. That's good. I mean, you know, you think about even energy in relationships where you're worrying, that's an energy, right? And then that's picked up on, and, you know, you start this dance, and the dance becomes the same thing over and over again. And I like it. I think a lot of what you're saying to me is like aging without shrinking.
Yeah.
Right. Where, well, I really can't do that anymore. Or I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going to age without shrinking. I mean, that's a big thing.
There are things you have to adapt to. I no longer want to get on my bike.
Yeah.
But I'll go out walking.
Sure.
And, do lots of other things. Traveling.
Yes.
Traveling is very important if you can do it.
Yeah. You went to Milan last summer? Last fall.
Last fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now the Olympics are in Milan.
And that's been so much fun to watch that.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that you're still working on?
Oh, yeah.
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 What would that be?
Well, see, confidence.
Really?
Yeah.
You went to college, right? To an all-girls college, coming from a home where that wasn't really supported. No, I'm not going to say supported. No. It did happen. It happened. But it wasn't popular. It
was not popular, and I think in so many ways I really connived my way into that one well.
Yeah,
I did a good job.
But that's a confidence that you can do it.
Yes.
Right? And then the masters, and then the running your department, getting a private license to do therapy when you used to do stuttering therapy with people. And
early intervention.
Stuff. So really confidence.
Well,
in what area?
In new areas. Like I have never really taught adults. So I'm looking at that.
Yeah.
To possibly do that in the fall. And designing a course and putting that together. And I think these are learning new things with the computer and all, because I can get overwhelmed with that stuff. But I think working on the confidence that I can figure this out.
Yeah.
Even when I got the new car, it was like, whoa.
Right.
Because my other car was 12 years old. So the difference in this car and that car was amazing.
I think this is great.
And then confidence, because I think society often thinks they're older. That's what happened there. So you often think I want to be very cautious in the car too, because if you're in an accident,
yeah. I think that there is maybe a certain point in society. I never felt this way. I can't say that I don't care what people think. And obviously things like what other people's opinions are me are none of my business, but it's not that I never cared. I just never let it kind of stop me. And I've never felt where I've heard women my age say you become invisible in society. I don't know if that's changing now a little bit, because and there are certain segments of, there's married and unmarried. I would be out seeing more of the social life that goes on. And also many people my age, their kids are in college or out. So, I've never felt that way. I've never felt invisible. I never felt like I didn't fit in anywhere. I really didn't. I always felt like I could walk into a country club and fit in there, and I could walk into a garage and talk to the guys there, and I just felt like I fit in everywhere.
You must have had a wonderful mother.
I guess. I just never did. And I know that, people don't like this because there's often the term white privilege, and I know a lot of guys who will go, well, what do you mean? I had to work my ass off. I had to do this. I had to do that. And it isn't so much that. I think it's like you have you're more accepted. Mm-hmm. So when you go in there, you're more accepted in certain places, Yeah. I mean, and I think that I would say, I know people profile and we hear, oh, you're not supposed to profile and you shouldn't do this. But I go, it's sort of our animal instinct and you get it. I mean, I remember, Brother Weeze, white guy covered in tattoos, right? He's coming back, had his boat up in Ontario, is going to let the kids and everybody stay there, and he's going to run home. And what he's bringing home are these oversized pillows that are just on the boat, taking up too much space. He's going through with another guy in the car that is also as tattooed as he is. They owned a tattoo parlor together. Now, just to tell you the story, they get pulled over at the border, and the border security is ripping open the pillows looking for cocaine because these guys, you understand? So again, it's like what fits, your thing. And my thing was I felt like I could walk in anywhere. I was never suspected of anything nefarious. I really wasn't.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, but not, Nothing. I walked in everywhere, and I just always had fun. I for the most part. I don't know. We'll wrap it up here. I would close it by saying I think that most people want to be understood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think very few sometimes are willing to understand. And I think that may be part of our problem, even in a collective thing. And maybe that's why I would say at 79, you're still growing, right? I mean, not the shrinking flower, not the one. And maybe the goal isn't to be heard, but maybe the goal is to become someone worth listening to.
Yeah.
You know, someone worth listening to have the wisdom, to have the life experience, and to sort of slow down. And
I live in an excellent community here.
Yeah.
It's an aging population, but it's active. There's something to do all the time. It's just, and yet it's diverse, you know?
Sure.
So it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm very blessed.
Well, you are very blessed. And then you even have me who comes to visit.
I know. I
And
love
all
it.
those types of things. For Mom Marge, starting over and doing great. It's never too late. I'm Bill Moran. We'll see you tomorrow.